Hey bookworms, welcome back. As you might guess from my hat, I'm talking about all of our favorite Viking YA book today. Although there's not a lot of those, so if you had a different favorite, that would be kind of surprising. Anyway, I know that a coonskin cap really has nothing to do with Vikings, but it made me think of them. Probably just because it has fur, but anyway, I really wanted to do some Viking braids, like some cool stuff like they do in this book, but I'm not that great at braiding my own hair, and that's a little bit outside of Ross's wheelhouse, even though he does have sisters. So keep watching after the intro for my review of Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. I've actually always been pretty interested in the Vikings, but it's been more in a shallow way, and reading this book has made me a lot more excited to learn about actual things in their theology, their culture, their society, and stuff like that. While there are technically a lot of books out there about Vikings, there aren't a lot for YA readers or like younger readers. So this book kind of felt like a fresh breath of Nordic air because there are so few like it in the market. So I'm going to start off by reading you the synopsis of the book so that you can understand a little bit more what it's about without me trying to explain it and then subsequently butchering it. Part Wonder Woman, part Vikings, and all heart. Raised to be a warrior, 17-year-old Elin fights along her Azga clansmen in an ancient rivalry against the Ricky clan. I'm not sure if it's Ricky or Riki or whatever, but Ricky's fun because like Ricky Martin. Her life is brutal but simple, fight and survive, until the day she sees the impossible on the battlefield. Her brother fighting with the enemy, the brother she watched die 5 years ago. Faced with her brother's betrayal, she must survive the winter in the mountains with the Riki, in a village where every neighbor is an enemy, every battle scar possibly one she delivered. But when the Riki village is raided by a ruthless clan thought to be a legend, Elin is even more desperate to get back to her beloved family. She is given no choice but to trust Fisk, her brother's friend, who sees her as a threat. They must do the impossible, unite the clans to fight together or risk being slaughtered one by one. Driven by a love for her clan and her growing love for Fisk, Elin must confront her own definition of loyalty and family while daring to put her faith in the people she spent her life hating. The best part of this book for me was reading about the interesting characters. Elin especially was really fun to read about. Part of this is because she's a true warrior in every sense of the word. She goes into battle knowing full well she could die, but risking her life anyway for her family. Even though Elin kills a lot of people in this book, I think it's important to note that she's a lot different from other YA characters who also kill people. She doesn't really ever get to make a decision about whether she thinks killing is wrong or right. It's simply something that she does. So even though she's technically choosing the whole time to kill people, Elin's killing is not based on a cause, it's not based on personal achievement or trying to reach some sort of goal. It's just kill or be killed, so it kind of takes her out of that morally gray zone that we're used to with YA characters. This aspect of her brutality, coupled with her almost fanatical patriotism and religious devotion, make her a much more interesting and complex character, for me at least, to read about than the typical killing machine femme fatale characters that we typically get in YA these days. Also, it should be noted that this book has hot Viking men. I see you there, Fisk. Another thing I really enjoyed about this book was the rich mythological world that Adrienne Young created for these two Viking clans. To me, it's pretty clear when an author does research on a book because it's not just like nonsensical names for things that are happening in this book to these Vikings. It's actual like religious practices, it's parts of their spirituality that were really important to them and that actually make sense on the page. So I think, kudos to her for doing the research for that. That being said, I think a book like this should only be a jumping off point for more legitimate forms of research, and we should not use a book like this as the absolute truth on what Vikings were like. It's just really cool that she put so much thought into it though, because you can tell that it's not just mumbo jumbo that she made up, there's actually real research that happened to put this book into action. Along that same line about other cultures and learning about them through books, which is my favorite, by the way, this book does a great job of showing what happens when patriotism turns into demonizing another culture. Elin and her clan are really not that different from the clan they've been fighting, but they're constantly locked in this mindless, bloody, fatal battle over what? Their pride? nothing, really. And this book does a great job of putting it into perspective and making us understand that usually we're a lot more similar to our enemies than we think we are. Overall, I really enjoyed this book, so if I had one complaint, and I'm really reaching here because it's hard to think of a true complaint for this book, I would say that at times the book's pace does slow down a bit when Elin is in the enemy camp and is just kind of learning about them and growing used to their culture and their people. Even then though, the book doesn't slow down that much, and it was still quite a page turner for me. I loved this book so much. I thought it was fun, fast-paced, exciting, kind of brutal and a little bit creepy at times. If you are really sensitive to violence, don't read it. I'm a little bit sensitive to violence and I handled it okay, but there were times when I got a little bit squeamish because it's kind of descriptive. Anyway, I thought this book was super fun and I'm glad that we have a Viking YA book for once because those never happen. If you are looking for another Viking YA book though, there is one coming out next year on February 26th, 2019. It's Warrior of the Wild by Trisha Levenseller. It's actually coming out on my birthday, so that's pretty exciting. Thanks again for watching my review of Sky in the Deep. Please comment and let me know what you thought of the book so we can discuss it. There's a link in the description so that you can get your own owl crate because this actually came in the May owl crate and I'm so glad it did because I loved it so much. So don't forget to like and subscribe and BRB with Blind Rabbit Books.